Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is going to contain my first clear of Surtr's Devouring Flame on the Legend difficulty. This is the last endgame content released for Dragalia Lost, and it actually came out almost a month ago at this point. It came out at the very end of July, but it's taken me until now to finally beat this. I first attempted this earlier this week. I had put it off for a while, was still finishing farming up all my water primal dragon weapons from Mercury's trial. I wanted those for the second phase of the fight. So I finally took this on earlier this week and got my first clear after a couple days of attempts. It was a pretty challenging trial, a fitting send-off for Dragalia Lost endgame content, I thought. This is a solo clear, and it was one of 10 trials that I still have to take on before the game ends its service, at least I'm planning to. So this was one of them, and I have 9 more remaining. I have 4 of the co-op Primal Dragon trials, all of them except for Brunhilde's on the Master difficulty that I need to do. And all of the Legend Sinister Dominion trials, actually, I still need to take on in co-op. So those are the 9 trials I have remaining ahead of me that I'm hoping to be able to defeat before the game ends. This was one of them though, the last solo one that I wanted to defeat, and I wanted to do this one using a special team in the water element. I really wanted to use an all-apostle or all Northern Ilian Church team because of their connections to the demons that you fight in these Sinister Dominion battles. I felt like that would be appropriate, and water is really the only element where you can do something like that because there are enough characters. So on my team, I was able to use Pinon, Sandalphon, Regina, as well as Auriga, and that ended up being a pretty challenging composition to work with. I almost ran out of time in this clear. Luckily, things went pretty smoothly here in the first half of the fight with my Shadow team, but that water phase, without any proper dispel on my team, not a lot of good standard attack damage, it was pretty challenging to get through and get my first clear. Having said that, I think this was a pretty fun fight. There's definitely an element of just learning the patterns and being able to read Surtr's moves so that you know which spots on the map are safe, you know the order that attacks are going to happen in so that you're not locked into a skill animation when Surtr does one of his attacks. You want to have the ability to dispel, afflict, and deal standard attack damage. He doesn't put his shield up right away in the match, so you don't have to worry about dealing standard attack damage immediately like you do on the Master difficulty, but he does put it up, as you saw earlier, a little bit later on in the fight, and it also gives him 3 stacks of regeneration, so once you get rid of that shield using standard attacks, then you want to be able to dispel him 3 times. There are moves like that tidal wave of flames there that, you know, if you're locked in a skill animation, you might just die, so you have to be careful and be prepared for. And there are others like this one where you may not know the tells. When he flexes, he's going to shoot out flames in front of him, so you need to get behind him. So there's all sorts of little stuff like that it felt like a pretty fun process of trial and error to kind of learn the battle. But at the same time, it could be a little bit frustrating at points where some of the moves, it's just hard to read the hitbox of the move without it spawning kind of a purple or red area. So in particular, some of the sweltering flames, like when the flame crystals explode, sometimes it can be kind of hard to read the radius that they're going to hit and how long their hitbox lingers, making it so that you may accidentally get hit by those. It's usually not a problem with like these smaller crystals because they have a pretty small hitbox. With some of the larger ones, that was something I noticed. There you could see I didn't quite get off my skill in time. And this spontaneous combustion, when he flexes with both arms, the spots with 2 orbs explode first. If he does a flex where 1 arm is down, the spots with 1 orb explode first, so that's how you know where to go. Here's another one of these tidal waves. That killed me numerous times as I was attempting this, as I'd be caught in a skill animation, so it got to the point where yeah, you kind of just learn when things are going to happen. Here's the combustion attack. This is actually one of the easiest attacks to dodge, but ideally you have plenty of skill animations available to iframe it. And then we get to this fire and brimstone. So this happened early in the first phase of the fight as well. I meant to use Regina to place the crystals, but they ended up going on Sandolphin, so that was fine. I just left her over there. You have to have a hit count character, or at least the ability to hit these enough to deal with them. I do like having a blade here for the force striking to kind of place that away and then get back. But one of the things that can also impede your damage output is sometimes your characters will get trapped on the wrong side of those flows of lava. So that can be a problem too. If you don't place things carefully here, the stunning wildfire, if it doesn't go off screen and it stays on screen, here it went off screen, but it can create another flow of lava that can leave you in some big trouble as well. Here, this is pretty dicey. I decided to shapeshift, but I'm still pretty far from breaking the boss. My most successful attempts, I broke the boss before Blazing Resistance. I think it makes a pretty big difference. Definitely if you break the boss while he has the shield up, that just feels horrible. But I wasn't able to do it in time, so I was a little worried here. I was going to run out of time. I switched to Pinon because she actually has really good standard attack damage. I think it's on par or better than her 4-strike damage once her sigil is released. And the cool thing is, about this team comp, all of the sigils start released for these characters, or in Orga's case, Satan's Yoke, I guess, starts activated because it's in phase 2 of the fight. So they automatically start off kind of in their empowered states. So I am able to use Pinon to deal pretty good standard attack damage. Having said that, my SP gained here with Sandolphin is so slow, and Surtr's healing because he has 2 stacks of regen, but luckily I finally get up my shared skill, which is my only source of dispel in this comp, to remove his other 2 stacks of regen. So that was kind of one of the impediments to using a team like this that was more of a flavor team than actually a good team to do this with. I decided to stay as playing a Sandolphin here because for these moves, these are similar to the earlier difficulties, you kind of just have to stay away from Surtr, and I want my main party, my primary damage dealers, to be able to continue to attack while I'm just rolling around with my healer. Now we have another of this move here that he attacks half of the map, and then there's 2 large purple circles. It's not too hard to dodge, you just kind of go behind him, whichever way he flexes. Another of this move that we saw earlier. And I think from this point on, most of the attacks that we're going to see repeat. But the biggest concern is, with the amount of time that you have, if you give Surtr another opportunity to put up his Blazing Resistance, put up the shield, in particular that you have to do standard attacks to destroy, it's going to be a very long fight and very likely that you might time out. So here I switched to Regina because I want a 4-strike there. In the first phase I dragon tanked that move, but with a blade, it's actually not too bad to be able to quickly move and maneuver. It's one of those where you sort of know what you have to do, but there's a question of whether you can run fast enough to execute it, because sometimes you might accidentally run into the purple that spawns, or rather the crystal explosion that happens. Here I want to get to safety, and also iframe that red AoE. And things are looking good with the amount of time we have left, or so you would think. But if Surtr gets up Blazing Resistance, which unfortunately he did there, and I didn't remember the timing, I definitely wouldn't have wasted my dragon, because if you do dragon moves or skills while he has that shield up, it actually reflects the damage back to you. I definitely wouldn't have wasted it, but somehow my team is actually doing really good standard attack damage. So once I see that his shield is actually depleting fairly quickly, I switch back to Sandolphin because she has my only sources of dispel, and I want to get that ready as soon as I can. Once his shields are down, I want to dispel him so he regens the minimum amount possible. And I think I kind of just got lucky here that Sandolphin's skills happen to be at a really appropriate level of charge to be able to quickly dispel Surtr so he didn't regen too much health. But this was still really scary, and I decided to go ahead and go into my Divine Wings form or Heavenly Wings form with Sandolphin. At this point, my whole thought process is all of my characters need to be providing some kind of damage, including Sandolphin, and she's probably going to be the one who can attack best from behind these gray stones here from safety. And thankfully, even though it looked like Surtr still had a pretty good chunk of HP, the combination of everything here is just barely enough to be able to take him out before the time limit runs out. So that ended up being my first clear. of Surtr's Devouring Flame on the Legend difficulty in solo play. I know what you're thinking, why didn't I just use Pietro or Sharpshooter Cerise? She actually legitimately would have probably made it a lot easier. Not sure about Pietro, but I wanted the challenge of taking this on with the Apostles, I think, and the Northern Alien Church characters. I think it was really fun. Hopefully you enjoyed this one and this trial. I'm going to try to take on the other endgame content. All of it that remains is co-op, so I'll do that as I can find teammates to take it on. But that is pretty much going to do it for today, everybody. Hope you're having fun in Dragalia Lost. Thank you as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.